Hi, this is Melanie from Hook to the Left. Welcome to my very first video. This is the first video in a series that I plan on doing. It's going to be a study of crochet stitches from simple to complex. I know you've seen a lot of those, so you're wondering, how is mine going to be a little bit different? Well, I am a natural left hand, so you're going to get the left-handed viewpoint. And I found that there's not that many stitch studies for left-handers. There's a lot of patterns out there that are done, but not that many stitch studies. And also, I'm not an expert. I'm going to be learning a lot of these stitches with you. I've been crocheting for a long time, but I am by no means an expert, so I'll be learning with you so we can learn together. With each new stitch, I plan on making swatches like these, and eventually I do plan on putting those together into one blanket. And I might mix up these colors that I'm using, or I might not. We'll see how it goes, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. For now, let's just start with the single crochet. To learn this stitch, you will need yarn, which you can use your choice of yarn. What I'm using today is Walmart's brand Mainstays Basic Yarn, and that is a worsted weight 100% acrylic yarn. It's very similar, in fact I think it's a little bit softer, but it's very similar to Red Heart Super Saver. It is considerably cheaper, which is why I choose to use this when I can. And you will also need a hook. I'm using a 5.5 millimeter hook, but don't sweat it if you don't have it. If you want to use a 5 millimeter or a 6 millimeter, or I wouldn't go much further than that with this weight yarn. Then that's perfectly fine, or use the hook that matches the weight of yarn that you plan on using. But what I would suggest is that you continue, if you're going to put all your swatches together like I am, you continue to use the same weight of yarn and the same hook for each time that you do a stitch study with me. And finally, you'll need tapestry or darning needles, and that's just to thread in your ends, and your favorite pair of scissors. And that's it. So let's get started. I am going to go ahead and just do real slow, show you how to do the slip stitch, as well as how to do a chain. So to start your slip stitch, what I do, and everybody, you can find 20 different ways to do a slip stitch, but this is the way that I personally do it. I wrap the yarn around my finger, go behind it on the second time around, but don't go fully around. And whenever I get the back of my fingers here, then I pull the yarn through and pull it up. And then from there, you can put it on your hook and slide it to how you need it. So I'm going to do that 2 more times. Take the yarn, wrap it around my finger. When I go to behind my fingers, I put it behind the other part of the circle, and then pull the yarn through and pull up. One more time, and this will be the last time. So wrap this around my fingers, go behind, cross and go behind, so that you can pull the yarn through like so and pull up. All right, so let's start with a slip stitch. I am making my chain, or I want to have a total of 25 stitches across. So I need to chain 25 times plus 1 more time to go up and start the first single crochet row. So we need to chain for a total of 26. I'm not going to do all of that with you, but I'm going to do the first few really slow so you get an idea of how to chain. So 1, 2, see how you're getting the V's there? So 3, 4, 5. So you have a nice little set right there. So why don't you go ahead and do 26 of those, and then we'll come back to the single crochet. Okay, so you should have 26 stitches in your chain. Now your chain, if you're very new to crochet, then you may find that your chain's a little bit uneven. That just comes with practice, so just undo it, do it again until you get it more and more even. And tension's one of the hardest things to learn as a new crocheter. And I'll explain that to you a little bit at the end with these two swatches. But anyway, so that should be 26 stitches. Next thing you're gonna do is you're not gonna yarn over here, which you get very used to hearing that with the other stitches. We're learning single crochet here. So that means no yarn over. We're gonna go directly, not before we go into the loop. We'll do that after. So you're gonna skip your first stitch and you're gonna go into your second stitch, like this. Now you're gonna yarn over, pull up a loop through that stitch. So you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over again, and pull through those 2 loops, and that is a single crochet. That's it, single crochet. So let's do that again. Yarn over, or not yarn over, sorry, whoopsie. Go through the next loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through. Now you have 2 single crochet stitches. Okay, go through the next loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through again. Now you have 3. Let's do that just a few more times, and then we're going to go to the end of the row. So go through the next loop, yarn over, pull through your chain, then yarn over again and pull through both loops on the hook. Go through the chain again, yarn over, pull through your chain, yarn over, then pull through both loops. One more time before I let you go. Okay, I almost did another yarn over. You go through your chain, yarn over, pull through the chain. So you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, so now it looks like 3 loops, and pull that yarn over through those 2 loops, and that's another single crochet. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and single crochet into the rest of the chain, each loop in the rest of the chain. So you're going to have a total of 25 stitches, or 25 single crochet stitches. Okay, and then I'll meet you at the end. You see how my my work is starting to curl a little bit here, kind of turn? That's because usually, and there's ways that you can work around this, but I've been working on my tension on my chains, but usually my chains end up being a little bit tighter tension than my stitch work. So this is not uncommon. Usually this works itself out as you're doing your project. And if you don't like seeing that curling happening, then just work on your tension, or you can go up 0.5 millimeters in your hook size, and then that will help relieve that tension that you create with the tighter stitches on the starting chain. Okay, so you're at the end of your first row, and that's all single crochet right there. What you want to do to start onto your next row is you need to get your height up just a little bit so you're not starting too flat here on this end. So you want to just chain 1 and then turn your work. Okay, so this is the back side of your single crochet. Okay, now once you do that chain 1 on as we get into other stitches, you'll find that we end up skipping this first stitch, but because it's single crochet and we are not going to count this chain 1 as a stitch, then we're going to go ahead and single crochet into this first stitch. And that you want to make sure that you send your hook all the way through both loops. So you can see here, you want to stick your hook in there and make sure it goes under both loops at the top, so you see a V on top of your hook. pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. So put your hook in there, make sure you have 2 stitches on there instead of just 1. That's a different stitch, which we'll do that again. We'll do that in the future. Okay, pull through, yarn over and pull through, so you have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through both those loops. Again, you're going to put your hook underneath both of those front loops and back loops, so it's 2 pieces of yarn. Yarn over, pull through, then yarn over and pull through again. One more time, put your hook through so you see both pieces of yarn. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through. Okay, so now you're starting your second row of single crochet. So let's go ahead and do that all the way down to the end, and then we will meet up again and do one more row before I let you off on your own. Okay, I'm at the end of my second row, and I need to make sure, now if I count, I bet you this is only going to be 24 stitches. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So I need to do one more stitch, and it would be very easy for me to miss this final stitch here because it kind of gets lost in this first section. But if you take a look, you can see the stitch right here. And that's what I need to go under, those 2 loops right there, to pull up, just like that. And then I yarn over, pull up, yarn over and pull through. And that's my final stitch for row 2. Okay, so again, I need to get the height so I can do a nice crochet so it looks nice and boxy like this over here. And so that means I need to chain 1. So I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and I'm going to single crochet again into this very first stitch that's right here, because I'm not counting that chain 1 as a stitch. If I was counting it as a stitch, then I would go into the second stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and go through, yarn over, pull through, so you have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through again, and there is my single crochet stitch. I'm going to do this a couple more times, and then I'm just going to let you go until you finish. Now for my swatches, I wanted it squared. So with this right here, the 25 stitches at the bottom, that's about 7 inches total. And then I measured it out until it was 7 inches to the top, and that was about 31 rows for me. May be different for you, so make sure that if you want a square, that you do, you measure it to make sure that you continue doing the single crochet until you reach the same length as this. So it'll be square, and it'll be easier to put everything together if they're square. All right, so let's do a couple more stitches, and then I'm going to let you go, and we'll come back together at the end to weave in our ends, to fasten off and weave in our ends. All right, so let's go ahead and put your hook through, pull through, yarn over, pull through. There's another single crochet. Okay, now put your hook through your stitches so you have 2 pieces of yarn, both pieces of that V, both loops right there. Yarn over, pull through your stitch, yarn over, pull through your 2 loops, and now you have another stitch. Put your hook through so both pieces of that are on the top. Then yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through. And there you go. You got your next 4 stitches of row 3. And we will come back together when we're all finished with our squares. So again, measure it, make sure that you're matching all 4 sides. So as close as you can anyway. Mine was roughly 7 inches. Honestly, I have different tension, which I'll talk about that whenever we come back, in my yellow square versus my teal square, and I may even get different tension with this one. So, but we'll discuss that when we come back, and I will see you at. We are here at the end, and we are ready to fasten off. So I just finished my last stitch here on this last row, which is the 31st row for me. And to fasten off, all you need to do is act like you're doing another chain stitch. So you know, normally if you're going to start another row, you chain one. So you just do the little chain there. But instead of starting another row, you snip your yarn, pull it all the way through, and then pull it tight. And now you fasten it off. So all we need to do is just weave in these ends. And what you want to do is get in here into the stitches, and it's a lot easier because this is all one color, so it'll be easy to work it in. But you want to work it back and forth at least 3 times. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll put a link to these needles. These are my favorite needles. I got them on Amazon, so I'll put a link to that down below. And it is a sponsored link, but I just want to let you know, if you're interested in them, there will be a link down below. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this through here. So I work through these stitches. You just need to pick up a few. Okay, that should be good. Okay, and then I know some people put the thread through first. I like to get it in the stitches first. And then with these, because of this bendy loop, and I do tend to crochet kind of tightly, I pull it down so that there's not as much end as I pull through, so it doesn't get stuck in there. All right, so I pull that through, and don't pull it too tightly so that it pulls this little section out of alignment. All right, so we want to run it back through again, and you want to skip over one stitch, because if I were to put it back through here, I would just feed it back through the same way, and then I would have to go back and, you know, so that wouldn't work. All right, so you skip over one stitch, and then you just take it here and put your needle back through. There you go. And I'm going to thread my yarn and let it fall out, but that's okay. And pull through, and we just need to do that one more time. So again, we're going to go over one stitch, and go all the way through. There we go. And feed that through. And there you go, that's pretty well locked in, so I can just snip the rest of this off. All right, so that's done, and I just need to do that with this end. And I'll do it pretty much the same way. I just feed this back and forth 3 times. So go ahead. I like to feel in the back to make sure I'm getting inside the stitches, because sometimes you think you're getting inside the stitches and you're really just running your needle along the back side. And it doesn't really stick that way. So, okay, I got the first part done. And One thing as you learn to crochet, and while I'm finishing up, let's talk about this a little bit. One thing you learn as you crochet is you start to learn your tension and understanding your tension. You'll hear that a lot. And that's really just how tight your stitches are versus somebody else. And you also find, or even versus your own work, you'll also find that sometimes your tension is tighter because maybe you had a stressful day, or it's a difficult stitch. So you're just holding your whole body a little bit tighter, and that will cause your tension to be tighter. One of the hardest things to learn, I think, as a crocheter is just managing your tension. So it's easier, especially on projects that are segmented out like this one's going to ultimately be. It's more even. But again, blocking and kind of stretching your work and stuff can help compensate for that in some ways if your tension's just a little bit off. So I want to show you an example of this because I have been known to switch up my tension. Usually I have a very tight tension, and I have been known to have to go up as much as a full millimeter to a millimeter and a half because of my tension. So I'm just going to show you these 3 squares in comparison, and I haven't even looked at this one in comparison. So this one was pretty even between these two. There's not much difference between my gray one and my teal one. There's just a slight difference down at the bottom. And that's excellent. So I got into my rhythm and had this tension good for these two colors. So I can intermingle these 2 colors if I wanted to as I go through and make the squares. Now, this is the very first square I made, and my tension is much looser. It's the same hook, same yarn size, same number of stitches, same number of rows, and this is one thing whenever you start to read patterns and they talk to you about gauge. This is something that, this is why gauge is important. If you find that your tension is too tight or too loose, then you may need to adjust your hook size so that you can match with the gauge. In our case, a gauge isn't as important. We just want to make sure that when I make another yellow square, I have the tension similar, or I make it the same size as this square versus these 2 squares. I can make them the same size. So I probably won't be able to intermingle my gray with my yellow, but I can do the teal. So I might have to make an all yellow blanket in the stitch studies. So that is it for me today. If you are enjoying these as I make more, this is my very first one, but if you enjoyed this and I look forward to getting more of these, then please be sure to subscribe down below. Also, follow me on Instagram and Pinterest. Those are my 2 main ones. I am also on Twitter, but a lot of what you get on Instagram is also on Twitter. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to comment down below. If you want me to re-upload this and flip it, I can do that technologically because I'm not right-handed, but so that it looks like it's right-handed. Just let me know down below in the comments. I'll be happy to do that. And that is it. If you're interested in my hooks, which these are the clover hooks that I use. These are my favorite hooks. And my needles, I will have linked to those both down below as well. Thank you very much, and I will see you soon. Bye.